Things just got really interesting for the New York Knicks as a surprising debate takes center stage. Should they push for RJ Barrett or Malik Beasley as their next big addition? Both names bring completely different skill sets, and the decision could define what this roster looks like for the next few seasons. For weeks, New York appeared locked in on a handful of familiar free agent targets, but recent developments have thrown a major curveball into those plans. Now, the front office faces a critical question. Do you bet on Barrett's size, versatility, and two-way potential, or do you lean on Beasley's elite floor spacing and offensive firepower? RJ Barrett's case is clear. At just 25, he's still young with plenty of upside. Last season, he averaged 19.5 points, 5 rebounds, and nearly 3 assists per game, providing strength as a slasher and secondary scorer. His ability to attack closeouts and finish through contact makes him an asset in half-court setting. But the downside is hard to ignore. Barrett shot just 34% from deep, and consistency has been his biggest criticism since entering the league. If the Knicks bring him in, it's a bet on development and long-term growth, while sacrificing some shooting in the short term. Beasley, on the other hand, offers exactly what New York has lacked for years: a high-volume perimeter shooter who can change the geometry of the floor. With Detroit last season, he averaged 16.3 points per game, while knocking down 41% from beyond the arc, including an incredible 53% from the corners. Over 70% of his shots came from three-point range, a clear indicator of his role and efficiency. He spaces the floor, plays fast, and forces defenses to stay honest. In today's NBA, that kind of skill set is gold. Still, he's not perfect. His playoff struggles, just 34% from 3 in 6 games, raised questions about reliability under pressure. Add in the off-court noise from earlier this year, and teams know they're taking on some risk. From a financial perspective, the choice gets even more complicated. Barrett is seeking a long-term deal north of $100 million, while Beasley could likely be signed on a short-term, team-friendly CE. The Knicks' internal discussions reportedly come down to one phrase: fit matters. Barrett brings size. So, what's RJ Barrett's resume brings a different kind of intrigue. While Beasley thrives as a pure floor spacer, Barrett offers versatility and size on the wing, two qualities that Tom Thibodeau values highly. Standing at 6'6", with a strong frame, Barrett can slide between the 2 and 3 spots, defend multiple positions, and handle secondary creation duties when needed. That's not something Beasley brings to the table. For a team like New York, which has historically leaned on defensive identity, Barrett feels like a natural fit within their system. But the question remains, does that identity still serve them best in a conference where elite shooting often decides games? Offensively, Barrett's numbers have improved gradually, but shooting efficiency is still a concern. He's coming off a season where he hit just 34% from deep, and spacing has always been the sticking point with him. If the Knicks commit big money to Barrett, they're essentially betting that his shooting becomes at least league average, while preserving his downhill scoring and playmaking. That's a high-risk gamble, especially when other contenders are stacking rosters with elite shooters to surround their stars. Contrast that with Beasley, a player who can come in on a short-term, low-cost deal and immediately raise your team's three-point attempt rate overnight. From a roster-building perspective, these two paths signal very different timelines. Adding Barrett means locking in long-term money and prioritizing two-way potential. Signing Beasley signals a win-now approach, focusing on maximizing Jalen Brunson's prime by surrounding him with shooters who keep defenses stretched. If the Knicks believe their window is now, Beasley makes all the sense in the world. But if they're still thinking about sustainable growth and building a foundation for the next 5 years, Barrett looks like the better investment. Financial dynamics complicate this debate even further. Barrett's camp is reportedly seeking a deal north of $100 million, a commitment that would lock New York into a core for the foreseeable future. Beasley, in contrast, might come for a veteran-friendly contract after a turbulent year that saw him clear off court allegations. For a franchise that values flexibility and has an eye on potentially bigger names in the future, That's a massive factor. Do you tie up cap space now, or keep the books clean for the possibility of a superstar trade? Strategically, it comes down to one thing. What do the Knicks want to be? A defensive-minded, physically imposing team with enough shot creation to survive, or a modern offense built on spacing, pace, and maximizing Brunson's ability to attack gaps? Adding Barrett leans toward the former. Beasley pushes them toward the latter. And then there's playoff context. Both players have postseason experience, but their trajectories tell different stories. Barrett has shown flashes of big-game poise, scoring in bunches during New York's playoff run 2 years ago, while Beasley's value comes primarily as a floor spacer in tight series. His career playoff shooting sits at 35.7% from three, slightly below his regular season mark, but still impactful enough to tilt defenses. Barrett, for all his strengths, can stagnate the offense when his jumper isn't falling. That could be the deciding adding. Malik Beasley wouldn't just strengthen the Knicks bench, it could completely reshape their offensive identity. His elite three-point shooting provides spacing that this roster desperately needs, opening driving lanes for Jalen Brunson and creating more inside-out opportunities for Julius Randle. Imagine a lineup where Brunson runs the pick and roll, defenders collapse, and Beasley is waiting in the corner, ready to fire. That's the kind of weapon that changes game plans for opposing defenses. But the impact goes beyond just hitting shots. With Beasley on the floor, defenses have to make a choice. Either stay glued to him on the perimeter or risk giving up a clean look. That gravity opens everything up for New York's primary scorers and forces opponents to defend honestly for 48 minutes. This is the type of spacing the Knicks haven't consistently had in years. And in today's NBA, that's non-negotiable if you want to compete with elite teams. What makes Beasley so intriguing is his versatility. He's not just a catch-and-shoot guy. He can move off screens, relocate in transition, and keep defenders honest with his ability to put the ball on the floor when needed. He thrives in motion, which complements the Knicks' tendency to run multiple actions and keep the ball moving. For a team that sometimes stalls offensively in half-court sets, adding a dynamic shooter like Beasley could be the difference between good and elite spacing. And let's not forget his playoff experience. He's been in big moments. He's taken and made big shots, and that confidence matters on a roster looking to take the next step. Defensively, there are questions, sure, but that's where Tom Thibodeau's system comes into play. Beasley doesn't need to be a lockdown defender. He just needs to buy into the system, rotate hard, and compete. If he does that, his offensive upside far outweighs the concern. Bottom line, this isn't just about adding another shooter. This is about unlocking an entirely new level of offensive flexibility for the Knicks. Beasley brings something this team has been missing, and if New York can land him, it could completely change the way this team operates on both ends of the floor. And let's not forget about flexibility. Beasley's presence would allow New York to experiment with small ball lineups without sacrificing perimeter shooting. Picture a unit of Brunson, DiVincenzo, Beasley, Bridges, and Randle, fast, switchable, and lethal from beyond the arc. That's the type of lineup built for today's NBA. If the Knicks are serious about making a real run in the East, about closing the gap on Boston and Milwaukee, this is the kind of move they can't hesitate on. Shooting wins in this league, and Beasley brings it at a high level. So what do you think, Knicks fans? Should New York push all in for Malik Beasley? Does he fit the vision of a team ready to make the leap from playoff threat to legitimate contender? Let us know in the comments, because if this move happens, it could be one of the most important steps toward that goal.